Teachers, has the dumb student ever turned out to be secretly smart? I had this kid in my last period class named Mateo, super quiet, barely spoke. He moved here from Mexico 2 years before and got stuck in remedial everything. Reading, math, you name it. His quizzes always came back half finished, sometimes just doodles in the margins instead of answers. The other kids laughed at him during group work. I felt bad, but honestly I figured he just needed more time to catch up with English. Every day he'd sit in the back corner by the broken pencil sharpener and just stare out the window. I tried helping him after class a few times, but he'd just nod and avoid looking at me. His file said low comprehension across the board. I believed it because what else was I supposed to think? Then one Thursday in March, our fire alarm system completely lost its mind. Not like a normal drill. Every speaker in every hallway started blaring these overlapping siren sounds in weird patterns. It sounded like robots having a seizure. The whole school evacuated to the parking lot. Teachers were confused. The principal was yelling into his walkie-talkie. The tech guy was sweating and swearing under his breath trying to find the main shutoff. We stood outside for almost an hour. Kids were sitting on curbs playing on their phones. I was watching Mateo because he looked weirdly focused, not scared or annoyed like everyone else. He was listening, really listening. His eyes were closed and he was tilting his head like he was solving a puzzle. Finally, he walked up to me and asked if he could see the security box. His voice was so quiet I almost didn't hear him over the noise. I was confused, but I figured why not. I brought him over to the tech guy who was about to rip the panel off the wall. Mateo pointed at the box and said something about the tones not being random. The tech guy looked at him like he was crazy, but Mateo kept talking. He said the beeps were in a pattern, a code. He said it wasn't a fire, it was a feedback loop in the power system. He started drawing on a piece of paper someone handed him, boxes and lines and numbers. He couldn't explain it well in English, but he knew what he was talking about. The tech guy stared at the drawing for a minute, then his whole face changed. Turns out Mateo had been spending every single lunch period sitting in the hallway near the fire alarm panel, just listening. He was obsessed with sound frequencies. His dad used to be a sound engineer back in Mexico before they moved. Mateo taught himself how to recognize fault codes just by hearing the pitch and rhythm of alarm tones. He'd been studying our school's system for months because he was bored, and it reminded him of his dad. The tech guy and the janitor followed Mateo's instructions and rewired something in the basement. 10 minutes later, the alarm stopped. Dead silent. Everyone cheered. The principal shook Mateo's hand and looked completely stunned. Kids were asking him questions. He just shrugged and walked back to his spot on the curb. That night I went home and pulled his file on my laptop. Turns out his test scores weren't low because he didn't understand. They were low because half the questions didn't make sense to him in English, and he'd just give up. His drawings weren't random. They were circuit diagrams, sound waves, equations. He'd been trying to show his work the only way he knew how. I felt like an idiot. I'd spent 2 years watching this kid sit silently in the back and assuming he wasn't smart enough to keep up. Meanwhile, he was teaching himself electrical engineering during lunch while the rest of us ate pizza and complained about our day. The next week, I asked the counselor to retest him. Took 3 days. His scores came back in the top percentile for logical reasoning and spatial skills. They moved him into advanced math and got him an aide to help with English vocabulary. By the end of the semester, he was helping the robotics club fix their machines. He still didn't talk much, but now the other kids actually listened when he did. I started keeping graph paper and colored pens at my desk just for him. Sometimes he'd stay after class and draw me explanations of how things worked. Microwaves, speakers, the school's ancient projector that kept overheating. I think about that day a lot. How close we came to just writing him off completely. How many kids we probably do that to without even realizing it. Mateo wasn't struggling because he wasn't smart. He was struggling because nobody bothered to figure out how he was smart. And that's on us. That's on me. He graduated 2 years later and got a full ride to study engineering.